Okay, so 6 o'clock. Hopefully we're rolling. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, looks like we got everything all set. Got all the settings right. You should be seeing the Moodle screen. Okay, so let's get started. This is Management 311, Fundamentals of Management. We are now in, stop me if I'm wrong, week 3, right? So let's do the week 3 Zoom session. I apologize for missing last week. I had a couple things pop up that I couldn't get out of. I hope you understand. I understand. You know, I put you on the timeline. I should be able to keep my own. Occasionally things will come up, which they did. In this particular case, nobody said anything, so I hope no harm, no foul. If you have a similar issue where something has popped up and you're unable to make a deadline, let me know. Okay, communication is the best when it's early and upfront, and then we can work through it. Regardless, communication is better than none. Okay. All right. So week 3, we've had now a couple weeks to get to know each other. I've gotten a sense of how you write. You should have a sense of what I'm looking for. This means that your assignments are more than what I will call scavenger hunts. What I'd like you to do is certainly find the answer. The answers aren't that hard to find. They're basic, but nonetheless, it is critical that you understand the foundations of management, the fundamentals, as your course implies. And I will interchange management and leadership from time to time because I predominantly teach leadership. And that's not to say management is barefoot of leadership. It certainly contains it. The issue is at what level. And I've shared with you all a slide that gives you my perspective and some course perspective on it. That is the order of the organization, not so much the day-to-day, but that it does apply day-to-day, is the realm of the manager. And he's got certain functions that he's got to attend to in planning, directing, and the like. I'll use directing here instead of leading just to make the point a little clearer. But it's still a lot of aspects that we attribute to leadership. In fact, they're the same, except when we talk leadership, we're talking more in the realm of the individual that is guiding and directing the organization. In other words, the realm of the leader is vision. Where are we going to be in 3 to 5 years? How are we going to get there? Become the major question. The leader's realm is directing the organization and enacting those change and implementing that vision. The role of the manager is to take where the leader wants us to head and identify how we're going to get there. Okay, so think of a gap analysis where we're talking about where we are and where we want to be. That which is going to get us there is the strategy, is the plan, if you will, where resources need to be acquired and applied, and a design has to be made. We don't just call a vision out and then just sit back on our laurels. Excuse me as I take a drink here. Just water, don't anybody panic. Anyway, the idea here is that you've probably been in organizations. I'm sure you may be in one now. You've certainly seen it, where the organization has this vision statement that is so broad and and in its nature, it could probably never be achieved, or it's one that was written, 10 or 15 or 20 years ago. In other words, somebody wrote a vision just to kind of, plop one out there. What we're looking for in a vision is something that's achievable, that's doable, that's realistic, something that looks like, 3 to 5 years, 3 to 5 years out.
Okay.
And so when we talk about organizations, we talk about leadership within the framework of its relationship with management. In other words, you want an organization with both good leadership and good management. If we think of organizations that have good leadership but poor management, then we're talking an organization that's quite frankly not going to last. And that is, if nobody is providing order to the day-to-day, if you're not accomplishing your mission, doing it within the resources given, then your organization is not going to last very long, and you'll be out of business. And oftentimes we will see that with franchise, not so much franchises, but with new business starts. A lot of family-owned, individual-owned businesses fail, in part because they're well led. Somebody had a vision, somebody had a plan, they got it in place, but there was nobody there to do the day-to-day nug work to make sure that the organization lasted. I'm reminded of a company, it was Petco, I believe, had, you probably remember this company. It was not that long ago, maybe 10 years ago. The company bought all sorts of Super Bowl ads. They had a sock puppet dog as a spokesman. And Petco's business model, now get this, Petco's business model was to sell the products they had for less than what they paid for them. In other words, Petco paid a price for the products and turned around and sold the product for less than what they paid for. And people wonder why that business. It just truly remarkable. And don't get me wrong, I understand loss leaders, and there are times where companies will do that, but you can't do it as a business model. Now, conversely, an organization that has good management but poor leadership isn't going to last. They're not going to evolve. They're going to hit the decline stage of any mature organization. To a degree, let's talk Blockbuster. Blockbuster had a great hold on the video rental market and had stores all over the place. It was very popular. And yet, they were out of business within just a few years. Why is that? Well, because the business model was no longer sustainable. It needed to be changed. It needed to be updated. Why drive to a store to rent a movie when you can do it online or at a Dropbox at any hour of night right there on the street corner? And so just a couple examples, but getting back to the point, you can apply this, to football teams. You can apply it to churches. You can apply it to your own household. Somebody in that household, in that family, has got the vision of where the family's going to be, and somebody in that household, hopefully, is watching the checkbook and is making the day-to-day decisions to run the family. All right, I don't see anybody popping up here, so I guess nobody's dialing in. Yeah, just me. So for right now, but that's fine. What we'll do is we'll continue on. So far, very good effort. Very impressed with what you all are writing and level of detail. We're having a couple of offshoots, I call them, where we're making some minor mistakes. and some not so minor. What are some of these minor mistakes? Minor mistakes include proofreading. Remember, make sure you spell check your submissions. You don't turn in a product that has misspelled words in it. You wouldn't do that with your employer. Don't do it with your instructor. So please try to attend to that. I asked you to do things as uploads as Word files, in part for that very reason, to make sure that you did have at least a spell check aspect to it. Some of you aren't doing that, and that's fine. You don't have to do it as a Word document, but still try to run a spell check, and also understand that Microsoft spell check will catch grammar and basic spelling errors, but it cannot catch everything. So you need to proofread. Okay, if you're using the word assess and you drop an S and it becomes an expletive, so to speak, or at least a bodily part that will remain unnamed, the Microsoft spell check will say you spelled it right. Unfortunately, you spelled the wrong word right. And believe me, there's a chuckle factor there. But after reading the same word 3 or 4 or 5 times in a paper, I started to get a little frustrated. Okay, don't get your instructor frustrated when he's trying to grade your paper. Okay, make sure you're getting your submissions in on time. There's timelines. You can get them in early. I'll caution you not to work too far ahead, because there are some changes that occur, and I tend to review those changes a couple weeks out. So if you're in the present week, you're fine. If you are working on the next week after I've released the assignment instructions, you're fine. If you're working a couple weeks out, we need to talk. Just double check with me to make sure you understand what the assignment is. Now, as far as contact with me, some of you are doing a very good job. You're certainly contacting me, and I appreciate it. I'm going to ask that you kind of observe a little bit of an etiquette to it, if you will. If this is something of a fairly routine nature and doesn't require an immediate response, then I'm going to ask that you either use, for example, here at the top, and I'm scrolling up, the ask for help form, which is there for you to ask for help from me or from your fellow students. And as you can see, there's nothing there, which would imply that nobody's asked for help. Now, that's not quite the case. Some of you have. But if it's routine, if it's not emergency, let's go here and enter it in. And I'll check this periodically, and then I'll give you a response. The benefit of putting it here is the whole class benefits. They'll see your question. They may have had the same question. All right. If you're not going to do this, then I'm going to ask you to email me, and I will get you a response within 24 hours. Usually better than that, but 24 hours isn't too bad. Okay. Some of you are texting me, which is okay if it requires a response from me within a couple hours. Okay. If you don't need it within a couple hours, I'm going to ask that you email me, not text. Okay. Again, this is just for your general benefit. I would ask that you contact me any way you can before failing to contact me. And I'm certainly not telling you don't contact me. I certainly want you to feel free to do so. I'm just asking, kind of think through, how we're doing it. If it's something that needs immediate attention, then that's certainly fine to text. It's something that can kind of wait. a text at 2,200 a night isn't probably the best way to accomplish it. All right, week 2 quiz. Not bad. Some of you, it appears, got caught up in the time of the exam. And if that's the case, let me know, because some of you missed quite a few questions. And the only thing I could think of is you might have gotten rushed. If that's the case, certainly, and you want to talk about it, certainly let me know. But as a majority, you can see over here on the purple graph, 5 of you scored 95 or 100. Most of those were all hundreds. And then 2 of you scored within 90 to 95, which is an A minus, 90, if you will. And then 85 to 90, there was 1. 80 to 85 was 1. 70 to 75 was 1. 65 to 70 was 1. So a couple of you out here didn't do so well on the exam. Take a review of what you did and where you're at. I suspect you know, and let's work on it. Your next quiz will be week 4. It'll be very similar. To let you know, on the quizzes, I go back and I get a printout like this, and I'm scrolling through it so we don't catch everybody's names. Not everybody needs to see all that. And I know you can probably go back and pause the video. I'm assuming you will not do that. But anyway, I go through and I look and I see which questions each of you missed. And if it looks like 3/4 of the class missed a question, in other words, well more than half of you missed a question, then I'll go back and I'll review that question to see if it was a problem with the question. I'll probably engage you all as a class if that's the case. And I reserve the right to let the quiz stand as it is. In other words, there may not have been anything wrong with the question. We just, for some reason, a bunch of you missed it. But I don't want to, there's no tricks here. There's no attempt to, deceive you, to trip you up or anything like that. In other words, you should find that the quiz was very straight up, asked a basic question. And then remember, I don't call it a multiple choice test or quiz. It's better to call it the best answer. In other words, every question has a best answer, and it's up to you to find that. So in most cases where we're talking definitions and it becomes pretty clear what the best answer is. But there may be some, for example, there may be a case study type of question where it may not be as cut and dry as a definition. And so again, instead of calling it multiple choice, let's leave it at what's the best answer, then read into it. Okay. All right. And then don't trip yourselves up. Don't overthink it. Now the quizzes are open note. You're allowed to use your text. You're allowed to use your PowerPoint slides. You're allowed to use our forum discussions and the like. The only thing that you cannot do, I will ask you not to do, is collaborate amongst yourselves. In other words, this is individual effort. It should remain that. Okay? All right. The discussion forum was good. I liked it. Again, pretty robust for all of you. Most of you made comments. I think there was one of you that did not. Again, This is your time. This is a course designed that you're not listening to somebody drone on and on like I am now. It is designed for you to be able to interact and gain that interaction, not just with your instructor, but also with your fellow student, albeit virtually. Try to replicate an in-class experience as much as possible. In-class meaning a traditional seated. To be quite frank, that's what I'm used to instructing, is seated class. I think the nature of the material lends itself better to small groups that are face-to-face and can gain that benefit of communication a little better. However, it is what it is. University of Mount Olive has opted to do majority of online. And that isn't just because of COVID. There's some other reasons for it. And those are good. There's certainly opportunities for learning here. That said, it is a bit of a challenge, and I recognize that challenge. I'm communicating with one of your fellow students right now on late work. This is not unusual. This goes on all the time. Predominantly, it is because people get their texts late, but also because exigencies occur, things pop up. If you know you're going to be late on an assignment, then by all means contact me as soon as possible, and we will work through it. We'll try to figure out a best way ahead. You should know by now, based on the syllabus, based on the course catalog that you have when reviewing the academic performance and integrity portions of that, that the University of Mount Olive does not accept or will not accept late work. It doesn't allow for makeup work or extra credit or the like. In other words, you're expected to meet the timelines. With that, the dean understands that exigencies occur, that COVID is real, that there is a demand on your time because most of you have full-time families, full-time work, and you're taking a full-time course load. That's difficult for anybody. So the better you communicate with me, the better I can communicate with the dean, and we can talk through. If it turns out something that couldn't be helped, then I will work with you. Either we will come up with a plan to get your submission in, and I will grade it, but it will apply a late penalty because your fellow students got their work in on time. They shouldn't be penalized because they may have just as many demands on their time as you do. With that, there may be times that are it's clearly out of your control. And if that's the case, then we'll make arrangements for you to upload your assignment, and I will grade in the same as if it hadn't been late at all. That's one-on-one. That's not blanket policy. And so if there's any questions or heartburn or concern on that, let me know. But I do pride myself on having given every student all the opportunities to get through this course. I see my job as getting you through this. It's your job to do the work and in the framework that's been designed. But nobody's gone and appealed a grade on me yet. I'll knock on wood, metaphor, and I will endeavor to continue that. And I think the reason why nobody's appealed is because I try to be fair in my dealings with you and everybody. All right. So let's take a look at week 3. Some good conversations this week, should be anyway, because as you can see in the discussion questions, we're in ethics, social responsibility, we're in international opportunities, local responsiveness. This is all great material. So I look forward to seeing what your postings are. Again, everybody, please post your answer to these questions, chapters 5 and 6, to Moodle by Wednesday at 23:59, 11:59 p.m. for civilians. The 1 minute before midnight. Okay. Then, of course, you're going to you have until Friday, 23:59, to comment on at least 2 of your fellow students' postings. Try to make those postings on point. Try to make those more than just a I completely agree or I don't agree. In other words, give the person the benefit of your insight in what you're saying. The same thing that I look for. Getting back to submissions, I certainly want you to use the material in the textbook because, again, that's what we're grading you on. It's what you met the learning objectives, which come out in the text. In that, in order to get an A in this class, I want to see some of you in it. I want to see what your thoughts and perspectives are. Do you agree or disagree with the text material? Have you ever seen it applied? Some of you have done an exceptional job with that, and it's showing. And I want you to continue. As children, child learning pedagogy is we want rote memorization and we want repetitive. We're laying a foundation with the child that certain things are inviolable. In other words, 2 + 2 is going to be 4. It's certain things can be memorized, and then that child is going to take that foundation of knowledge and enter into the workplace and gain experience. All of you are obviously not children, you're adults. So adult learning flips that on its head. Andragogy is where we know you've got depth of experience, and what we're trying to do is present new material to you, to add to your toolbox, if you will. And so in that particular case, I don't want you memorizing the material. And certainly understand it, certainly be able to articulate the principles. If I say Herzberg's 2-factor theory, have an understanding at least of what I'm talking about. Be able to understand or use path goal theory, or what was Maslow's hierarchy of needs trying to get across, and what's the impact on your leadership. And as you go through this course, take the perspective of not just because a lot of the exercises are trying to identify for you your strengths, weaknesses, biases, the like. But take that a step further and understand how you're going to identify that particular quality in somebody else and the leadership technique or the management technique that may need to be necessary in order to guide that individual through it. Okay, so again, yes, this is your time. Certainly build your strengths and weaknesses, but also put it through a viewpoint, an aperture, if you will, of how you're viewing your future subordinates, whether that's in your present organization or a future one. Okay. Again, getting back to that vision thing, if you see yourself in a certain type of organization, say in 3 to 5 years, with this degree, then envision how these principles may or may not be applied by you in that organization 3 to 5 years from now. And if presented with a circumstance, would you use this tool? Would you use a different tool? Okay, that's kind of what I want to get at. That's what I want to see. And this is, try to push it beyond your comfort zone. If I can get you out of your comfort zone a little bit, then we'll try to do that. Again, should be fun. I think the material is fascinating. I hope you do too, because this is real. This is dealing with people. This is how we view the world. This is how we gain our techniques, and whether you believe that leaders are born or leaders are made, I think matters not. it all comes down to leaders gaining appropriate tools to use in circumstances in order to achieve organizational goals. Okay, with that, this has been 30 minutes of me droning. So I'm going to end this. Again, nobody dialed in that I could see. And I hope it helps. Remember, week 3 homework case study. You're doing the experiential. I misspelled it. I apologize. Experiential exercise 5.1, page 154, 55. And this week, you'll also do the concluding case, a global launch for Treasure Cup. So you got the exercise and the concluding case to do for your homework. The benefit is that's it. That's all you got to do for this week. And then, of course, week 4, you'll have a couple chapters to read, questions to answer, some homework, and a weekly quiz. So I think, again, everybody sees the battle rhythm. We're full on into it. And I tell you, I've been very impressed and I've been very appreciative of everybody's patience with me and attentiveness. And quite frankly, your time you're spending on your responses. Believe me, it shows. As instructors, we can tell when somebody spends time on a response. So best of luck. I hope you have a great week. Don't forget, Saturday is Patriot Day, where we remember 9/11. I was in the Pentagon that day, and I certainly remember it. I will be speaking at the City of Jacksonville's annual observance this year. And it will be, albeit virtual, but there's a few things that I need to say based on this 20th anniversary of that fateful day. Again, I hope everybody has a good week and is doing well. Let me know if you need any help. Otherwise, I'll assume you're doing fine, and we'll keep moving out. Take great care.